Life speaks. It speaks through struggles and success, through music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged from time to time. Here we will share stories of strength, testimonies of triumph, verses of victory, observations, and information meant to touch the heart and uplift the soul, to keep you on your path of purpose and navigate this thing called life with power and authority. This is Andrea Hines, and I'm your host for When Life Speaks, here on ALH Broadcasting, an affiliate of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. I am glad you accepted the invitation to join us tonight. There's something in this broadcast just for you, and if it is going to be a blessing to your life, it will be to someone else as well. So share, tag, start a watch party, and invite someone you know to join us. Then turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to When Life Speaks. This is your host, Andrea Hines, and I am here with my co-host this evening, Audra Lynette Hines. Audra, how you doing?
I'm doing good, darling. I am doing good. How are
Well,
you?
good. I am great. I am doing great. It's been a great day. It's been one where we've kind of been sitting on the edge of our seats with the forecast of some bad weather coming in. But so far right here in Raleigh, we haven't had any. There are other places in North Carolina that I know they've had tornado watches and all kinds of things. But I'm glad we are safe. We are sound. God is with us. And I tell you what, we have an interesting show planned for you tonight. Our topic is going to be forgiveness. And it seems like over the last few days, that has been, we've had a lot of opportunities to talk about this topic. I guess God knew of course, God knew what was coming up. So it was an interesting time. There are many things that have been posted out there on social media having to do with forgiveness. So I'm glad that it is a topic that we are going to touch on tonight. It's not one that you can totally cover because there's so much that goes into it. But let's go ahead and get started tonight. And Lynn, you want to start us off? The question that we put out there to our listeners was, what does forgiveness mean to you? Mm-hmm. And why do you think it's so hard for people to forgive?
Well, you know me. If you give me a word, the first thing, I can always give it my interpretation, but I do like to look up what the word means. So I did look up the word forgiveness, and forgiveness in the definition that I said conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment and or vengeance towards a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve it.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, wow, I love the fact that it was a conscious and deliberate decision. Mm-hmm. Those were the three words that came out. And then I love the fact that it put in there regardless of whether they actually deserve it.
Wow.
That's what I thought that was very, very key. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very key. Mm-hmm.
Very key. Good evening, Angela. Thanks for joining us tonight. Saw you pop up there. And I found that in the the responses that we got, there were some common threads. And I think that you will see that kind of as we go along. There were some things that everybody seemed to agree with or look at or think about when it comes to forgiveness. Good evening, Francina. Nice to have you on this evening, and good evening to you, Victoria. Thank you for joining When Life Speaks. When I think about there was a second part to that, Lynn. Why do you think it is so hard for people to forgive?
Well, now I found something that talked about the steps to forgive, and there were some things that it was like 15 steps actually, but I think sometimes one of the reasons why it's hard to forgive is that one thing that they said is that move on to the next act, and what it said that that you have to make sure that your mind doesn't become muddy of the things that happen, but to move on and to move forward. The other thing that I loved that it was that it says stop looking for occasions to be offended.
Yes.
And it also indicated it says take responsibility for your part. And I think sometimes when we are looking at forgiveness, and that was the other thing that they mentioned, was that let go of the resentment, don't be accusatory. But I think sometimes in forgiveness, we forget that we played a part. We played a part. So, but whether or not it's a forgiveness of a person or the forgiveness for yourself, sometimes I think a lot of times we don't forgive ourselves. And when we keep replaying the incident or offense over and over and over again, it's hard to forgive because you have never released it.
Right. And I think that's the key word right there is to be able to release it. And there are a lot of things out there when it comes to forgiveness. There's one that's got 4 steps to forgiveness. There's another that's got 7, and you had found one that had 15. But a lot of it is about being able to release. And one of the things that was interesting to me, one of the first things that I found in some of those steps was to be able to acknowledge the hurt.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we don't want to do that. We don't acknowledge that we are hurt, but we act like we are. You hold that person accountable. Your conversation with them changes. Your whole attitude towards them changes because you really haven't dealt with the hurt or with the offense or with what happened. So let's see what some of our listeners had to say. We had something here coming from Antonio Santoro, and I am so happy that some of our listeners will participate and weigh in on the topics that we have had. And let me just stop right here and say, if you would like to do that, if you are listening tonight, you would like to participate in that, please just send me an email to speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. And Antonio said forgiveness is essential. Yes. It allows one to release any offense. It's a mandate from Jesus. And if we forgive, we are able to be forgiven. It is not difficult for me when I realize the importance of releasing and how healthy it is. And there was somebody else that made a statement, sent something in about the issue of being healthy. That when you are holding on, that what the physical effects can be of unforgiveness. When you are not able to release those things, that it increases your stress, it affects your blood pressure, it does a lot of things to your body. And let me take another one here. Francina said, to forgive to me means let go and let God. Let go of any offenses. There's that word again. Hatred, grudges, ill feelings, revenge, or guilt. Having peace and a sense of compassion. loving me beyond my faults. Good
Mm-hmm.
evening, Paula Obi. God forgave us. Why is it difficult to do? Loss of control, power, painful,
Mm-hmm.
shameful feelings of being the victim.
Mm-hmm.
They don't deserve it. Wanting justice,
Mm-hmm.
wanting justice. And I think that is has come across a few times also. We we want somebody to pay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been offended. I've been hurt. You
Mm-hmm.
said something to me that wasn't true. You flat out lied about me.
Mm-hmm.
You lied about me. That
Mm-hmm.
that hurt. That hurt my reputation. That hurt
Mm-hmm.
my feelings. And you gotta pay. Some
Mm-hmm.
people talk about karma's gonna get you. No,
Mm-hmm.
the truth of the matter is God's gonna get you
Mm-hmm.
because He's gonna be the one that judges what
Right.
happens with that.
Right.
You have any other comment on that one, Lynn?
There were I'm listening to you and I'm looking back over my 15 steps, and there were like two things that came out. One was like step number 9 said be kind instead of right.
Yes. Now
Be
that's
kind
good.
instead of right. And the other thing, and now step 6 was learn to let go and be like water. Don't be forceful. And the little subtopic on there says don't be forceful, be like water, flow, soften
Mm-hmm.
your hard edges.
Mm. Mm.
So
That's
that
good.
again, that kind of goes along with what Francina was saying. In order for me to be able to accept it, I'm gonna have to soften my edges, because sometimes we hold on to it because you
Mm-hmm.
hurt me. So I'm gonna hold on. It's like a fence. We hold on to it like a coat or a robe. We've wrapped ourselves up in it, tied
Right.
the belt on so tight that you can't even, nothing can get in, and you sure can't get out.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
mhm,
Exactly. And that's an important point because that's what you were saying before, about your part in it. What is
mhm,
your part in it? And being able to acknowledge that, and in acknowledging that, I think that helps to begin that
mhm.
process of smoothing
Right.
those edges. And it's really a healing process
It is. It
that
is.
has to take place. Let's see, I've got something here from Minister Carnethia Robinson. She
Mhm.
stays with us a lot at 8 at 8. She says, first of all, and if you know Carnethia, you can imagine her saying this. First of all, God says forgive.
Mhm.
Forgiveness is a release of resentment, hurt, pain, burden, stress, whatever the problem. Unforgiveness can hinder us spiritually and physically.
Mhm.
It can be hard to forgive because of pride or a want to get even.
Mhm.
Why is it hard? Because we are hurt, and hurting people hurt people,
For people.
hurt
Mhm.
people. You have something for that one? Or you want
Number
me to
4.
move on?
Yep. Number 4 says switch the focus from blaming others to understanding yourself.
There you go.
That was
There
step
you
number
go.
4. Switch
And
the
that,
focus from blaming others. It
and
kind of goes.
again, it
I'm
circles
sorry.
back to your part.
Exactly.
Comes right back to your part.
Exactly. What
Hmm.
part did you play in this?
Yep. Let a man
Hmm.
examine himself. We
So,
can't get away
yes.
from that. Self-examination
Hmm.
is a foundation, is the root
Hmm.
of a lot of what happens in our lives.
Yes.
We are busy looking at someone else. We're busy critiquing
Hmm.
someone else
Hmm.
instead of turning that mirror
Right.
around and saying, okay, let me look at me.
Hmm.
Did I do something? Sometimes you did, and sometimes you
Sometimes you
didn't.
did. Right.
But the discovery of it
Hmm.
releases the weight from it.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Okay, let's see. I have something here from Prophetess Tara D. Knight. She's in Georgia.
Hmm.
And she said, forgiveness is a big word.
Yes, it is.
Big because it takes a big person to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness frees you from the bondage of the offense. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I personally forgive quickly because it makes no sense to be captive to the immaturity of someone that had no clue who you are and
Right.
whose you are, had
Mm-hmm.
no clue whose you are, a child of God. I choose to live and not just exist. Besides, if Jesus can forgive, who
Mm-hmm.
am I not to?
Right.
Who am I not to? Thank you so much for that, Prophetess Tara. That was well said, well said, well said. Let me see who else I have over here. Oh, we
Wait.
heard from, yep, go.
Yeah. Okay. So our 15 steps, number 8 and number 14. 8 says let go of resentment, and
Mhm.
14 says refrain from judgment.
Refrain from judgment.
Refrain from judgment.
How
So
difficult is that?
that's why it's hard to forgive. Those two together. I mean, to let
Yes,
go of resentment and to refrain from judgment. We are, because we're so human, you know, it's difficult sometimes to refrain from judgment, you know, because we're pointing that finger. But
yes.
again, it goes back to what part did you have in this? Because we always say is when you're pointing that one, you've got three pointing back.
Mm,
We forget that.
yes.
I'm wagging my finger at you and you did this and how did you and how come and I remember when this happened, but you still got three. You have three
Mm-hmm,
pointing to yourself. You have three pointing to
mm-hmm.
yourself. But that was good. Who was that from? Mama
That
Obi or was
no, that was from Prophetess Tara Knight
okay, yeah. That
out
is
of
forgiveness
Georgia.
is right. She was right. Forgiveness that is a heavy word. It is
Yep.
there's weight to that. There's weight to that word. But it's amazing that it's so heavy and it's a weighted word. But once we learn to truly, truly forgive, how freeing and weightless
Yes.
it can be.
Absolutely. That is freedom. That's what I like. Why I liked it when she said it frees you from the bondage
Bondage. Yes.
of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't realize sometimes how much holding on to those things
Mm-hmm.
is putting it in bondage, us in bondage, is holding us captive. And
Right.
we don't realize that whenever we have a tendency to share, to share
Mm-hmm.
what you did to me and what you said to me and how you made me feel and going through all of those things that
I love it.
we physically
Mm-hmm.
go through the same thing we did when we were hurt at that moment, and we
I like
forget. So when people say, and this is just my opinion, but when people say I'm going to forgive but I can't forget,
forget.
I really don't feel, in my opinion, that
Mm-hmm.
you have truly forgiven,
Forgiven.
because you have to be able to release
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, whatever the anger is, whatever the frustration is, whatever is,
Mm-hmm.
you have got to let it go. And if you let it go, you don't think about it.
Right.
You don't think about it. So
Mm-hmm.
I like that freeing part of
Right.
forgiveness. I like that. Um, we also had something from Elder Joe McNeil. He's in the Triangle area here. And he says, to forgive in my mind means there was a transgression or misunderstanding that we must recognize. And I
Mm-hmm.
like the fact that he brought in the misunderstanding.
Yes.
Accept it and face up to it, then ask for or forgive whom you transgressed or put your mouth on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or if it was done to you and you forgave that offense. Let me read that again. To
Mm-hmm.
forgive in my mind means there was a transgression or
Mm-hmm.
misunderstanding that we must recognize, accept, and face up to, then ask for or forgive whom you transgressed or put your mouth on,
Mm-hmm.
or if it was done to you and you forgave that offense.
Mm-hmm.
Got to see ourselves as not perfect in an area and own up to it. And that's the difficult part.
Yeah, own up to it.
Own up to it. Own up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that,
Mm-hmm.
Elder Joe. Appreciate that coming in.
Mm-hmm. Learn from it.
Yes, learn from it. Learn from it. Let's see who else we've got here tonight. We talked about Francine and Minister Carnethia Robinson, Antonio Santoro.
Mm-hmm.
We have Pastor Lois Boyd.
Okay.
And Pastor Lois is the founder of Dancing with a Purpose. She's up in the DC area, so we
Oh,
sure
okay.
appreciate her
Mm-hmm.
coming on. I see Monique Hedeker Green is on. Nikki Green, good evening to you. Glad to have you in the house tonight. Um, Pastor Boyd says, forgiving is giving yourself, forgiving is giving yourself permission to tell someone that has wronged you, you apologize for the misunderstanding. There's that word again, that
Misunderstanding.
misunderstanding
Mm-hmm.
that was cultivated. See, sometimes we forget we feed this stuff.
Yes.
We help it to grow. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but let me get
That's
back to
something.
this.
That's a whole nother thing.
That was cultivated when they caused you so much hurt, pain, or shame.
Mm-hmm.
And shame has come up a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
This hurt is oftentimes caused by something that was said or
Mm-hmm.
done to the individual.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness is necessary in
Mm-hmm.
order for individuals to move forward,
Forward.
to move forward. And once you move forward, once you take that first baby step,
Mm-hmm.
you will not be given the opportunity to look back. Hmm. Why? Because God has a special way of closing those painful wounds and throwing all of that pain into the sea of forgetfulness forever. Got to let
Mm-hmm.
God in and let Him start
Let him
with you.
do it. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That
We,
was number
we,
two.
what was it on the
And number
50?
two said. Number two said reconnect to the spirit.
Yes.
Stop
Yes.
dwelling in it and get back to the Father. Because if you continue to
Yes.
focus on Him, it's easier
Amen.
to walk in the forgiveness part because you're not looking behind you as to what happened. But
Right.
again,
Right.
that goes back to holding on to that offense. And
Yes.
what you
Absolutely.
said about but I agree with you. I'm gonna go back to something that you said. I do agree with you on that cliche that people say, I can forgive you, but I won't forget.
Mm-hmm.
Then you didn't really forgive me. If Because it seems like if you didn't forget it, you're still somewhere holding that memory. It's like it's being held hostage. And I think this is one other thing that I can't, I think it's number 11. It says, yeah, it was, stop looking for the occasion to be offended.
Mm.
It's like if you don't let it go, it still sits back here. So if I say something, it's going to automatically trigger something. And
It's
so it's like
almost like you're waiting for it.
you're waiting. You're waiting. So if you're waiting for the opportunity, I love how you said that. That was so sweet. Share. I thought that was cute. That was so sweet because we don't share. We're gonna tell you off. Now, she was sweet about it. That is not what we do. We're waiting for that opportunity to really let you know how you wronged me. But you were really sweet with that, with the share. That was nice. that was really, really nice. But some people do. They hold it because they are waiting for that opportunity, as we say, to give you a piece of my mind.
Hmm. And
But look at
the other thing that happens when we're holding on like that is we are building walls, and we're building walls to protect ourselves.
Mhm.
And we get into that mode of, I'm not going to ever let anybody do that to me
Right.
again. I'm going to make sure that nobody does that to me
Right.
again. So you're holding new people accountable for what old relationships did to you or what you had to work your way through.
Out of.
And whenever you get to that place, to me, it's like you're somewhere, and how do I want to put it? When I love you, when I really love you, there are things that you can say to me that
Right.
we will laugh about, that we will joke about, that we will do the share was really sweet. I know that's not what you meant, but share was really sweet. You can do that. But if you have offended me, and I have not dealt with the offense, I have not looked at the offense, I'm looking for a way to make you pay for the offense, then I am on high alert and triggered with everything that comes out of your mouth.
Everything.
Because I'm looking for a reason. I'm looking for a reason to be able to sit back and say, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
And I think what bothers me in that point that you're mentioning, when we talk about forgiveness, there's one thing I don't know if any of your listeners wrote that in, but you want to be forgiven or you want someone to forgive you. No, here's it. That's not what I want to say. The issue that I have is that if I've wronged you, you don't tell me.
Yes.
How do I apologize? Or how do I know when you don't communicate with me that there was even an offense? Because you're so busy holding on to it. But if you don't give me the opportunity to at least, or if you don't express to me what I've done that hurt you, then how can you hold me hostage for not forgiving or being able to say I'm sorry when you
Right.
never came to me?
Very
So
true.
if you're gonna do it and you want the words I'm sorry, you're going to have to be able to communicate what happened.
And that's one of the points. Now, I don't know whether it was in your 15, but I know in one of the scenarios that I had, one of the things it said is that you need to make a decision. You need to make a decision whether or not you're going to forgive. And I think the important thing with that is to forgive the person like Christ forgave us.
Right.
Something, I had a situation at one point that hurt me deeply. I mean, hurt me deeply. And I told the person, I said, I forgive you for that. I forgive you for that. And they knew that they had hurt me and they apologized. And all was well. But what God said to me is, and don't ever bring it up.
Yep.
And don't ever bring it up. And we have a tendency, and this is, again, goes back to not fully releasing, because we have a tendency that, I'm sorry, okay, I forgive you, but it'll be 3 months later, 4 months later, something totally different will happen, and you do a remember the time?
Yeah.
Remember the time that you did this? Remember the time that you did that? And that is part of the letting go. That is part of being at that place where you've got to say, okay, if I'm gonna forgive you, I'm gonna forgive you like God forgives. He doesn't bring it up, and neither should I.
Right.
And neither should I. Now we've got let's see, that was Pastor Lois. Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that was Pastor Lois.
Okay. Now I'm going to do we're gonna do the last one that we had. Let me see. Okay, yes. I think this is the last one we have. And it is from Fatima Smith. And she is a business owner. She's been a model. She does an awful lot of things. She does community work. And she kind of wrapped up, I think, everything that everybody else has said and some of the
Mhm.
things that we had been talking about tonight. But she says, I think forgiveness is no longer being bound
Mhm.
or held captive
Mhm.
or staying in bondage mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually over things and people that hurt you. It is a conscious effort made by the person that is hurting due to betrayal or wrongdoings to no longer allow that place to stifle them from moving on concerning that situation or incident. So we
Mhm.
have the importance of moving on. We
Yes.
have the issue of being bound and held
Right.
captive, um, making that conscious effort. We have
Mhm.
all of those things in there. Then she said, I believe it's hard to forgive because people hold on to things
Mhm.
due to their heart, trust, and love being broken,
Mhm.
lost, or taken advantage of.
Mhm.
And most of the time, it's from an unlikely source that we put so much faith in to keep us
Mhm.
safe. And
Mhm.
when that doesn't happen, it pierces the soul. I'm gonna finish what she put, but I want to come back to that. Okay.
Mhm.
She
Mhm.
says, but God, He forgives us daily after we have hurt Him.
Mhm.
Shoo. He wipes the slate clean and allows us to still have His grace. The flesh isn't as forgiving, so it truly takes the Lord Himself
Mhm.
to help us change our mindsets
Mhm.
and understand that forgiveness is for us,
Right.
the victim. The
Yep.
victimizer has gone on to their day to day business, and we allow ourselves to stay in that place. But when we let go, we get relief and sweet peace. Not to
Mhm.
say the thoughts of that will diminish forever, but we can no longer allow it to fester and keep sending us back there. I mean, I
Mhm.
think that she has every
Summed it
element,
up.
everything that we have been talking about
Mhm.
tonight. But this issue that she says, when we put so much faith
Yep.
in someone to keep us safe. And
Mhm.
when that doesn't happen, it pierces the soul. It
Mhm.
pierces the soul.
Mhm.
What position does somebody else have in your life that should
Yes.
be occupied by the Father?
Mhm.
It should
Right.
be occupied by the Father. And it
Mhm.
goes back to something you were saying earlier, Lynn, about focus. You know,
Mhm.
where's our focus?
Mhm.
You know, where are we really looking?
Right.
What are we really trusting in?
Trusting God.
Who
Mhm.
are we really trusting things for?
Right.
And again, we get to that point of saying, why was I so offended by that? Why was I so hurt by that?
Mhm.
Why did I feel manipulated
Right.
by that?
Mhm.
Why did I feel that that was just totally and completely undeserved? And I
Mhm.
don't know who it was that made the statement. It might have been Maya Angelou, but somebody made the statement that you have to treat people how to treat you.
Mhm. I'm not sure who said that either, but I have heard that.
You heard that?
Mhm. I
You have
have
to
heard
treat
that.
people, teach people how to treat you, because if you don't, it kind of feeds into what you were saying before. If you never allow me to know how you truly feel about something, that's a behavior that I'm going to continue in.
Mhm.
And if I don't know, the likelihood is, if I've hurt you about it before,
Mhm.
I'm going to hurt you
Let's
with
do
it
it again. Mhm.
again. And
Mhm.
it's going to continue to happen over and over and over and over.
Right.
We've had some good points made
Mm-hmm.
tonight. I think we talked about misunderstandings,
Mm-hmm.
cultivating,
Yep.
feeding those offenses that
Yes.
we have, the
Mm-hmm.
importance of being free, all of those things. And
Mm-hmm.
and how easy it really is to forgive, because
Right.
scripture says, if you don't forgive, God's not going to forgive you. I don't
Right.
I don't want to be in that place.
No. Mm-mm.
I don't want to be in that space where
No,
God
ma'am. No,
forgive
ma'am.
me. No,
Mm-mm.
that is not where I want to be. Lynn, would you do me a favor, since you have it there,
Yeah.
and you've kind of gone through most of them? Would you
Mm-hmm.
would you give us those 15 things before we
Okay.
close tonight?
Sure. 15 steps to forgive. The first one, I'm not going to do a lot of the subtopic information,
Yeah.
okay? But
Okay,
the
that's
first
fine.
one was okay. The first one was to move on to the next act. Number two was reconnect to the spirit. Three, don't go to sleep angry.
Mm,
Four, switch the focus from blaming others to understanding yourself. Five was avoid telling people what to do, listen rather than expound.
mm.
But yeah, that.
Whew, toe, that's a toe. That's stepping on a
That's
toe.
right. Right. At number five, yes. Number six was learn to let go and be like water. Seven was take responsibility for your part. Eight, let go of resentment. Nine, be kind instead of right. 10 said practice giving. And I am going to say this part because it brought up the part of, practice give. I kept was like, practice giving. What does that mean? But it was saying, when you have strong emotions or feelings that need to be proved that you are right, that you need to stop and say, where there is injury, let me bring pardon.
Mm,
I
wow.
thought that was, I was like, wow.
Wow.
I stopped when I got to that part because words hurt,
Yes, they do.
they can cut.
Yes,
And I
yes.
thought about that, where there is injury, let me bring pardon. It didn't tell me to go and seek for them to understand where I was coming from. It said
Yes.
for me to bring pardon.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I feel that I'm right and you're wrong, if there's an offense and there's an injury, I don't think sometimes we realize how much the blessing is on us
Yes.
to
Yes.
just go on and forgive and move forward. But
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole nother situation. So let me move on to number 11. Stop looking for occasions to be offended. That goes back to that whole memory thing.
Mm-hmm.
12, don't live in the past, but the present. Because we talked about that as well. Because I think
Yes,
that was
indeed.
Fatima brought that up. You don't live in the
Mm-hmm.
past, but be present.
Mm-hmm.
This one was something that I thought was good too. It said embrace your dark time. And when it talked about that, it basically was saying it happened, learn from it, and grow.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Embrace the dark time. And that kind of still ties back into what Fatima was saying. Embrace it, learn from it, and grow. It didn't say get stuck, it said to grow.
Right.
Okay. The
Right.
next one, refrain from judgment. And the last one was send love. Because
Send
I can
love.
send love. That last
Send
one,
love.
send
And
love.
that last one could be the first one,
Right.
because if
Start
we are
there.
walking in love,
Yes.
if we are walking in love, to
Hmm.
be able to deal with an offense does not take the toll on us
Right.
that it does when we are not walking in love.
Right.
If I walk in love without expectation,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
place that we get to that says, I'm going to love you like Christ loves you. I'm going to
Right.
love you like Christ is loving me. I'm going to
Hmm.
treat you in a way that displays compassion for you and empathy for you and kindness towards you and all of those things, then I am less likely to be in a place where I can't forgive and forget.
Right.
And you are less likely to be in a place where you offend.
Right.
So we start with love
Mm-hmm.
and we end with love.
With love. Mm-hmm.
Hallelujah. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for everybody who joined and everybody who commented. Thank you. Prophetess Helen Lawrence was on tonight. Francina, Paula Obi, Monique. I just thank everybody. I think I've called everybody's name, and we thank everybody who contributed tonight. Antonio Santoro and Prophetess Tara D. Knight, Fatima Smith, Elder Joe McNeil, Pastor Lois Boyd, Minister Carnethia Robinson, and Francina Booker. I think I got everybody in tonight. And please, 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 I think we got one more Thursday in this month. So we're going to come back again to keep faith flowing. And if you want to participate, we would love, 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 love to have your comments. So please just send me an email to speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. And trust me, if you don't send the email, we're coming to look for you. We know who you are. And we know you've got good things to say. So that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to share. God bless you, everyone. Please come back with us next week. We'll be right back here at 7 p.m. Lynn, thank you so much for being with me. It's always a joy to have you. So good night, everybody. Look forward to hearing from you soon.
Bye.